Elara and the River Stone. In the sun-drenched, emerald kingdom of Veridia lived Elara, a young woman with hair the color of spun copper, eyes like liquid amber, and a spirit that pulsed with unacknowledged vitality. She was not merely beautiful, she possessed a deep, inherent connection to the wild, vital energy of the land, a connection Lysandra sought to extinguish. Elara was held captive not by a simple rival, but by her older sister, Lady Lysandra, whose ambition was as sharp and cold as glass. Lysandra's obsession was fueled by a dark bargain she had struck years ago. She had traded a part of her own natural kindness to an exiled sorcerer for the obsidian mirror, a masterpiece of deceptive magic. This was no ordinary illusion. The mirror was a psychic dampener. When Lysandra looked into it, it showed her as the peak of perfection. But when Elara gazed into its polished darkness, it projected a subtle, continuous wave of anti-magic onto her aura, twisting her features and convincing her she was pale, plain, and utterly unremarkable. Lysandra's whispers, "See how ordinary you are," were merely the verbal reinforcement of a profound, magical lie. Elara spent her days as the Shadow Maid, her spirit slowly choked by self-doubt. In the neighboring kingdom of Ethelred, Prince Kaelin carried a heavier burden than self-doubt. Several years prior, Kaelin, an innovative architect who loved to build beautiful structures, had gently refused the marriage proposal of an ancient sorceress, Melinda, citing her cruelty. Offended, Melinda placed a terrible, poetic curse upon him. Anything Kaelin touched that was created out of pride, vanity, or excessive human artifice would instantly crumble, fray, or decay. The curse was a constant, heartbreaking reminder of the superficiality he had rejected. His magnificent, gilded palace became a ruin overnight. His royal robes turned to dust. Even refined spices in his kitchen turned to bitter ash. Kaelin realized the curse was not just destructive, it was a test, a metaphysical filter. To save his kingdom from a slow decay, he retreated to the forgotten, rough-hewn hunting lodge deep within the Wailing Woods, an ancient forest whose raw, untamed nature resisted the curse entirely. His people were told their prince was studying a serious illness. Kaelin, now dressed in simple, patched leather, spent his days studying ancient lore, haunted by the isolation of his enforced simplicity. Lysandra's ambition drove her to seek a mythical source of ultimate beauty, the moon petal iris. She believed this flower, said to grow only in the deepest, most shadowed glade of the Wailing Woods, would grant her permanent, undeniable radiance. She commanded Elara to fetch it, knowing the journey was dangerous, but also knowing that the further Elara was from the obsidian mirror, the greater the risk that her true spirit might reassert itself. Lost and terrified, Elara wandered for 2 days, the faint, lingering anti-magic making the natural world feel hostile. She stumbled upon Kaelin's lodge. She saw a man whose face was etched with sorrow, but whose eyes held a deep, scholarly light, dressed in the simplest of clothes. Elara, convinced she was too drab to be noticed, was immediately at ease. Kaelin, in turn, saw not the plain girl she believed herself to be, but a woman whose eyes were filled with unspent light, a true reflection of the vitality of the woods. He gently warned her that the moon petal iris was a deadly bloom that required the sacrifice of one's most cherished superficial possession. When Elara confessed her misery, "I desire only to be free of that house, and to look into a glass without seeing a stranger," a pale shadow, Kaelin saw his own shame reflected in her self-doubt. He offered her shelter. "Stay here," he insisted. "You are safe from vanity's grasp. In return, I ask you to keep only one rule: find beauty only in what is broken, and trust only in what is true. Use your hands to touch the things I cannot, the necessities, the honest craft. This place needs tending that my curse prohibits." Elara became Kaelin's quiet partner in the woods. Her chores turned into acts of creation. She gathered wild herbs, realizing that the simple, uncultivated things had a power she had never known. Kaelin's curse forced them into a life of profound honesty. When Kaelin carved rough wooden spoons, they endured. When Elara polished the smooth river stones he collected, they became bright. Crucially, Elara noticed Kaelin's profound grief when he accidentally disintegrated a fine, silver-etched compass, the last remnant of his mother's elegance. While he despaired, Elara didn't pity the man. She pitied the vanity that had inflicted the curse. She realized that the curse was not a barrier to love, but a barrier to pretense. She began to carve a beautiful, sturdy new compass for him from rich, dense oak, a functional object of natural origin. Kaelin, seeing her unreserved acceptance of his life, began to share his hidden lore. He taught her how to recognize the source of the obsidian mirror's magic, a chilling, hollow signature, and explained that its power was built on her consent to the lie. Her perceived plainness was merely the magical costume Lysandra had forced upon her soul. Her true beauty, he said, was in the courage of her kindness. Every day she spent valuing the rough-hewn, the natural, and the necessary. The anti-magic in her aura faded. Word reached the lodge that the royal family, in a move to reassure the people about Kaelin's health, was holding a harvest festival. It was to be a masked celebration of the land, requiring all guests to wear rough, handcrafted attire and bring a gift of natural bounty. Lysandra, hearing the prince might attend, spent a fortune on non-magical, but intensely luxurious, natural silks and a dazzling mask of intricately carved bone, convinced that her manufactured perfection would succeed. Elara and Kaelin decided to attend. Kaelin, knowing the time for the truth was near, gifted Elara a dress made of simple, naturally dyed linen, sewn with painstaking care. Her mask was woven from silvery birch bark and decorated with moss and tiny, dried wildflowers. He then presented the final counterspell, a perfect circle of polished river stone. "Look into this," he instructed. "It is entirely natural, immune to illusion, and holds nothing but the light." Elara looked. She saw her vibrant self, her fire and light restored. The spell was broken because she had, through her actions, withdrawn her consent to the lie. She had chosen to see and trust the truth. At the festival, Kaelin and Elara were a quiet, powerful presence. Lysandra, blinded by her own ego, ignored the humble pair, attempting to charm the most richly dressed officials. Kaelin, at the peak of the celebration, removed his simple mask. The revelation brought cheers, followed by a sudden hush when Lysandra, realizing the depth of her blunder, rushed toward him. "You look well, Prince Kaelin. I have brought the most magnificent gift, a tapestry woven with thread of spun moonlight," she announced, her vanity overwhelming her sense. Kaelin merely stepped aside. As Lysandra proudly unfurled the masterpiece, the prince's curse, recognizing the excessive artifice and vanity imbued in the tapestry, activated instantly. The thread turned to dust, the colors faded to gray, and the silk disintegrated into a brittle powder that fell to the floor. Lysandra gasped, then spun to see Elara, her inner fire now visibly restored. "You! Give me that drab trinket." Lysandra snatched the river stone from Elara, intending to smash it. Elara held her ground, looking her sister straight in the eye. "Look into it first, Lysandra. The lie was never on my face, it was in your greed, and in the magic you bought. The river stone reflects only the honest truth." Lysandra, in a fit of rage and denial, stared into the flawless, natural stone. For the first time, she saw herself as she truly was, sharp, gaunt from ambition, and cruel. The sight of her own unvarnished soul, not magically altered, but genuinely reflected, was the deepest shock. Overwhelmed, she dropped the stone and fled the festival. In the aftermath, Kaelin and Elara addressed the kingdom. Kaelin explained his curse, demonstrating how it forced them to value function over flourish, necessity over luxury. Elara spoke with clarity and power. "I was held captive by a lie because I let a mirror dictate my worth. My sister's vanity was built on a fragile artifice. My freedom was won by the enduring truth. The true magic in this world is the power of choice, the choice to value the humble, the natural, the broken, and the honest over the shining facade." Kaelin and Elara married, not in the ruined palace, but in a grand, beautifully crafted lodge, built entirely of rough-hewn, sustainable, natural materials. Kalen's curse remained, a powerful filter that ensured their kingdom would never again fall prey to empty vanity. They governed with a focus on sustainable crafts, honest labor, and inner goodness. As for Lysandra, she was found several months later living in a simple cottage, working as a weaver, creating rough, honest cloth for the poor. She never sought another mirror, having learned that the only reflection that truly matters is the one you earn through kind action. The couple ruled happily, their enduring love a testament to the powerful, non-glamorous truth that true beauty is found only when one chooses to see beyond the surface. If you enjoyed the story, subscribe the channel and like the video. Thank you.